Today we're going to answer the question, is the GFX100s Mark II a worthy upgrade if you own the GFX100s? I own this camera right here. Fujifilm was awesome enough to send me this camera right here for about 2 weeks to test out, and I've been running a bunch of autofocus tests just to see if it stacks up, if it is substantial enough to justify an upgrade. First, I want to give a shout out to Fujifilm for sending me this camera to test out. Second, if you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It would help me out a ton as these videos take a bunch of work to make. And with that being said, let's jump into my findings. So let's do a broad overview before we jump into the heart of this video, the autofocus test. In terms of specs, the GFX100s has a new sensor, still 102 megapixels. According to Fuji, this new sensor is an improvement for both image quality and speed coming from the 100s sensor. To be blunt though, I didn't really notice an improvement in terms of image quality or dynamic range or anything along those lines. This camera pretty much felt exactly like my GFX100s. All the buttons and the layout of the buttons are the exact same. It has the same 2 SD cards and it has the same battery, and even down to the editing. Editing raw files on the GFX100s pretty much feels exactly the same as editing raw files from my GFX100s in terms of exposure and saturation and adjusting all those values. So without considering autofocus, this camera is pretty much identical to the 100s, the main difference being the grippy texture along the body. Also, the ISO goes down to 80 now, a new low. Let's jump into a quick top down and I'll just show you side by side what these two cameras look like together. This GFX100s has this definitely a bit more grippy texture. It is pretty nice. The 100s definitely does not feel as grippy in the hand. Other than that, the grip is the exact same. As you can see, the cameras pretty much look identical. If we turn to the back, we'll see the buttons have pretty much the exact same layout. The only difference is the focus knob. It's just a little bit different of a design on the 100s, but otherwise they're pretty much identical. Obviously, the only difference is it says GFX 100s. On the GFX 100, it just says GFX. Taking a look at the bottom, pretty much the exact same. And taking a look at the top, pretty much the exact same. I'm not going to open up all the doors, but just to show you guys, obviously takes 2 SD cards in both of these. They did not switch to anything else, which in my opinion is great. May not be the popular opinion, but I like SD cards. I did 3 main tests with this camera. The first being human eye focus, the second being pet eye focus, and the third being a product photo shoot. So let's jump into these. I'm going to be pretty transparent here. I don't do a ton of portraits or things that require human eye focus. That being said, I do usually shoot a few portraits a year with the 100s. For subjects being really still in frame, I found the eye focus of the 100s to be solid, really solid. The main lenses that I use for portraits being the 110 f2 and the GF55 1.7. I especially found the GF55 to perform really well with headshots. I just did an on-site corporate headshot session, and I don't think the lens missed focus once, literally once, and we rotated out at least 20 employees. So for this body specifically, I have pretty high expectations with the human eye focus. Something unplanned when I had this camera, my friend Z was shooting music videos and asked me to shoot some stills for him. And naturally my first reaction was yes, but also it would be an excellent test for this camera. So I shot a total of 686 photos. That's a total of about 66% where the focus absolutely locked. And with most of these being burst shots, I'm pretty happy with these results. The thing that really ruined the score was the last scene we shot. And that was one situation where we got crunched with time and my settings kind of got messed up. So more or less user error there. Overall, I'm really happy, but let me show you what I found. So jumping into Lightroom here, what I did was I highlighted all of these images that are in focus in yellow and all the ones that are not in focus in red. This first scene was a classroom. And if we just look here, we just zoom on in, easily have a solid focus, 1/125th too. I did use electronic shutter for this, so I got some wonkiness going on. But like if we click here, we got arm movement and whatnot. Yeah, like some of this stuff got wonky. I did switch it after this one, but yeah, eye focus locked, and there was a decent amount of movement there. Same sort of thing with this shot. So here's my buddy Z, easily lock focus. But it's not always the case. We've got some weird hands here. Move to the neck, and then if you keep going, again, the neck, locked focus again. I'm definitely bursting here. And so yeah, we got a decent hit rate and we got an object in front of him. So let's just check the focus here, locked here. This one's locked as well. Let's take this is a cool shot. This scene, not too crazy. It's basically, you know, you had a light source from the window, natural light, and overhead lights and all that. So this scene, pretty solid. This scene though, however, this was basically completely dark. There was only one light in this hallway. It's like a little corridor place. I don't even know what's over here. This is wild to lock focus in a room like this. But if we look here, locked focus, some shots later on that I liked. This one is pretty solid. And if we look at the original, really, really dim. None of these are edited too, just a little caveat. I just kind of went in and marked which ones were in focus. But I'm pretty impressed that we have eye focus going on in such a dark place like this. Like, that's pretty wild to me. This camera is definitely a big upgrade with eye focus. This scene was pretty decently lit. We had a bunch of TVs behind the wall, some smoke here. Nevertheless, got some locking in focus. And yeah, even in this scene, we got some movement going on, locked focus here. And then if we scroll down, we got some shots that are with some movement shots, locked focus on his closed eyes, pretty solid. We got a group shot at the end, locked focus here. So yeah, overall pretty solid. No crazy movement, but not bad. The next scene was in this like coffin room. We got the walls lined with roses, and this was a super still scene. But the crazy thing about this scene is that they had coins over their eyes. So if we zoom in here, the eye focus was on, but we got it locking on the coins, which is pretty sick actually, because if it didn't lock, none of these would have been in focus, and it would have been user error because this was a really fast-paced shoot, and it's hard to use your full brain for settings when everything is going pretty crazy. Now, one thing that happened here is the scene got hazed pretty heavily. Obviously, this was like right before the haze, right? Locked focus, and then clearly didn't lock focus here, although this is like a really sick shot. We start to pick up after the haze goes away a bit, but also at the end, there were other scenes where, like here, this is pretty thick haze, locked focus, and that is the original right out of the camera. They hazed it pretty heavily. And if we zoom in, got focus, go to the next photo, check focus, got focus here, got focus here. And again, I think that's pretty impressive. We have the next scene on this this throne, if you will, and this scene was very minimal movement, at least in the beginning. That was just kind of like the idea behind the shot. And so obviously we're gonna have focus. It's pretty straightforward scene here, easily locked focus. Again, we did haze this though, pretty heavily. And if we check this out, zooming in on this shot, you can see we got focus. Zooming in on this shot, we also have focus. So despite darkness and haze, we have some pretty solid autofocus. And checking this out, pretty easy shot, got focus. But then let's test some of these haze shots. Like this one, zooming in, got focus. So yeah, I did burst a lot of these scenes. Let's just take a look at how the burst played out. Locked focus, locked focus, locked focus. Pretty solid focus all around. Easy focus, easy focus. Really solid all around. Let's see if we keep going. You know, we didn't hit all the time, but for the most part, pretty surefire to hit. If we check out this scene, yep, we got focus. Let's check out this where we got heavily hazed at the end. I'm fairly certain I turned up the brightness here, and we'll check out these shots as well. So yeah, so as you can see, this is the original. Zooming in, got focus. And then if we check some of these crazy haze scenes out, got focus here. This was a bit more haze, locked focus again. So I basically burst it, kept bursting, and it kept the focus the entire time. It's pretty impressive considering you could barely see his eye as it is. Pretty solid. In this last scene, I shot at 1/100th, and I think that was the downfall. It was just too slow. Some of these, obviously, I clicked one that was in focus, but the glasses also kind of threw everything off. I'm not going to heavily go into this, but
Do got some keepers for sure here. But yeah, this is my friend Z's band. It's called Free the Heretics.
The heart of this new GFX100s upgrade is the new predictive autofocus algorithm, which brings object detection as well as pet eye autofocus. And naturally, being the owner of 2 dogs and someone who has loved pet photography for many years, naturally you know I'm going to test this and feature this. Because let's be honest, the main reason I am borrowing this camera to test out and review for you guys is so I can personally determine if this camera is worth dropping 5 grand just so I can photograph my dogs better. You know, with 100 megapixels instead of 40 on the XH2. And just to talk about my expectations going into these tests, way back before I switched to the GFX, I used to primarily shoot on the XH1, and I did a ton of dog photography. Seriously, it was basically one of the big reasons that I got into photography. Naturally, the autofocus was not great on the XH1, but I just went through a ton of my old shots that I fully edited and exported, and obviously, it goes without saying, not a lot of the images had the eyes razor sharp and in focus. And there's definitely more to photos than having the eye fully in focus. As I was looking through these photos, I really found that the photos that popped the most had the dog's eyes fully locked in focus. Unless you're going for a unique angle or like a nose macro shot or something along those lines, I really want the eye to be in focus for any sort of pet photo. So this GFX100s2, I want to see some serious eye focus action going on, and I want to see dogs in motion. So we're going to take a look at all of that. And before we get started, just so you know, I updated the firmware on all of my lenses and of course this GFX100s Mark II body. I really can't tell you how many times I've tried to shoot my dogs coming inside from the backyard with my GFX on burst. I don't think I've gotten one single shot of my dogs in motion with the GFX. And some of the cooler shots I got, I'm taking my dogs on various walks. Most likely they're a little soft or I didn't hit the exact point of focus, which should have been the eye. I get it though, the GFX100s is a studio camera. I'm using 100 megapixels to shoot products in my studio. Any sort of additional photography is a bonus in my opinion, like shooting my dog. So that's just where I'm coming from. I'm just kind of telling you my thoughts on the matter. They're just my thoughts and what I expect out of a camera, how I use my GFX. So on to the tests of sprinting and walking. I shot a total of 840 images. Of these images, only 134 are locked on to the eye. That's a grim 16%, I know. So out of these 134 images, naturally a lot of them are burst shots. I have about 28 images that I starred 3 or higher. And ultimately, 6 of those shots I rated 5 stars. And of those 6 shots, I would probably rank about 2 of them as some of the best dog shots, at least of my own dogs, that I have ever captured. Naturally, to have a really good shot like that, you need everything to align. The time of day, the sun, how magical it feels, and all of that. I understand that. But ultimately, with everything aligning and using a GFX, it makes the shots even more magical because the image quality is going to be out of this world. So let's take a look at Lightroom and you can kind of tell me your thoughts on this after we review in the comments.
So coming from such a successful test, now we nosedive to a motion dog shot test. And as you can see, given a quick scroll through, it doesn't look so great for the images that did hit focus. But let's take a quick look. Some of these shots here, as you can see, let's just start here. Chief was coming on in from the backyard, and this would have been a pretty funky shot. Unfortunately, no focus here. Starts to hit on his body, but then he gets too close to the camera. Minimum focus kicks in because I shot this with the 55. Actually, the 55 minimum focus is not too bad, but nevertheless, same sort of thing here. So I called him to come in. He's trotting in, moving decently fast, but no luck. Nothing in focus. I did lock focus on this shot, so that's kind of cool, but that was I just kind of lucked out picking this one. It's pretty rare when it did hit focus. It's an okay motion shot. He's kind of galloping it inside, but I did kind of have better luck with Duncan. Like this shot would have been crazy. Didn't hit. This is a cool shot. He's on one leg. We got eye focus. Yeah, it's close enough. I'm gonna give that one a pass. Cool motion shot, but then everything else did not hit. Here is a shot, pretty minimal movement, and this did hit. It's kind of like, you know, a game of luck. This shot, he's moving pretty slow. Didn't hit the side of his face, hit his collar, and then hit his side of his face again, finally locked here and locked here. So got 2 in a row. That was pretty cool. But again, I'm picking like the best examples. He's moving really slow in these shots. This shot, he's coming in hot. But unfortunately, no focus, no focus, no focus, no focus, no focus, nothing. So shots of substantial movement with good speed, no luck. Let's take a look. This was another shot that did actually work out. We have Duncan with his ears up. No focus, no focus. But we do have focus here. Hit, 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 hit again. But this is a funny shot. Funny shot. Well, this one's out of focus. And I kept going and, out of focus. Now we have Chief again, sprinting inside, kind of jogging, kind of slow. Yeah, no luck, no luck, no luck. Finally hit. It just kind of depends how fast the dog's moving and how lucky you get, because all these shots, not in focus, and I guarantee you he's moving pretty slow here, but then these shots the same, and they did hit. Then you have shots where he's just kind of chilling in the backyard, close, but no focus. No focus, no focus, no focus. Finally got focus, and then no focus. So it really just depends how lucky you get. Then we did some shots, leaving the backyard finally, went to the park, and let's see. So Duncan started walking. I had Lisa walk up the hill and then walk down, and no focus, no focus, no focus, no focus. Nothing, nothing. Finally getting close, getting close. It just seems like it couldn't detect Duncan from that far back. Finally got focus, but it's on the wrong eye. Same thing here, on the wrong eye. And then here, also it's just locked heavily on that eye. And then we lost focus completely. Let's take a look at some of the really good shots. So again, I started bursting here, no luck. Nothing. Started bursting here. Here we did get lucky. Got focus, focus. It did hit here and here, but then didn't hit, didn't hit, didn't hit. But Duncan also is a bit sporadic at the park, so he's not the best example. Started bursting here, hit once, miss, 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 hit again. Kept going, missed. Hit once here, hit once here, hit once here, and then missed all these other shots. Now some of these that it hit, this is like some of the best shots I've ever gotten. So here, missed, 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 and I'm just firing here, hoping it hits. Missed. Finally hit. It's very hazy, but it did hit. Also hit here. And this is just like a super magical scene, so I'm pretty hyped at this. This scene also hit here. Miss, miss, miss. Now these, I gave it one more shot because I didn't think any of those hit actually in looking at it quickly. I was just hoping at least one of these shots hit. Missed, 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 and then we got it. Magical shot you could only get on the GFX with the 55. If we go back to this view, as you can see, there's just a lot of red here. I think it's worthwhile, but you're just gonna have to go through so many different burst shots to finally get stuff in focus. Sometimes it's just kind of like you have a dog walking like this. He's not really starting to get a good position, great position there. Then it's not in focus, not in focus, not in focus, and then the scene's missed. Starting again in focus, just bursting to see if he goes in the right direction. Hit here and then didn't hit here. Although arguably speaking, I think this is a pretty cool shot, but I think that would have been better, but that didn't hit. I did a couple shots of him walking. So started out here, not in focus, not in focus, not in focus. Finally hit. It's a cool shot. Didn't hit, didn't hit, didn't hit, didn't hit, didn't hit, didn't hit. So yeah, really kind of try your luck with these. We got some crossing the street shots that hit, and then it didn't hit. Then it hit again, and it looks like it missed, but if we zoom in, it locked on the other eye, locked on the other eye again. I know the GFX has massive glass and a huge shutter, so it's really kind of like, in my opinion, shots like this, you're kind of, the GFX is like a studio camera that you could bring on the streets. So anything you get is kind of like a bonus. At least that's my opinion. And some of these shots are cool. Like this is a cool shot. I did crop it, I think. Like I tried just shooting for some walking shots straight down the street, And as you can see, the hit rate of like a good shot was minimal. This is such a great shot. One of the best shots I've ever taken at Duncan, at least in motion, right? But look at all these not in focus. This one hit, but he's walking weird. This one hit, he's also walking weird. You just have so many shots where he's walking and you just don't get the shot in focus. Also, you got a shot like this. That's kind of cool. I did a test here, trying 1/4000th of a second, so I had to really blast the ISO. I did have some decent luck with it, but I just wanted to test this out for science. I think I was overly harsh because, as you can see, I did get some good shots. We're talking like gigs and gigs of shots. So if I select all the photos from this walk, we got 508 photos. I don't know what the math is on that. 508 times about 100 megabytes of photo. It's a lot. On to the next test.
Let's take a look at this video sponsor, VFlat World. They make a bunch of awesome products that help streamline all of your studio work. Let me tell you about 3 of them. If you couldn't tell from the name, they make V-flats. These are multi-purpose tools, 40 by 40 inch boards that are expandable to 80 by 80 inches. And these are dual-sided, so you can choose to use the white side to reflect light or the dark side to absorb light. Those are the main boards that they sell, but if you need smaller boards, they've got you covered in 3 additional smaller sizes. They also sell these magical things called light cones that you put over your product, diffuse light, but also fix all your reflections. They sell 3 sizes of these cones that you can shoot on a tabletop or rig up as you need. And lastly, duo boards. These are realistic backdrops or bases for your product shoots. There's a ton of styles that they offer that you can use for your shoots. These boards are printed with high quality and they're made of PVC, so they can get wet and you can just simply clean them at the end of your shoot. So check out the link to their site in the description below. With that being said, back to the video. So at this point in the video, you're watching this and you're basically thinking it's not looking good for pet eye focus with the GFX100s2. Totally get it, and honestly, it's a fair observation. For this second test, we are doing stationary dogs. Dogs not really moving around, maybe just a little bit of head movement, light movement. And for this test, I have a total of 117 shots. Of these, 70 locked focus. That percentage is not so bad, coming in at 59%. This is definitely where the pet eye focus shine. Most of the tests that I did do with this camera focused on dogs in motion, so I didn't go out of my way as much to capture nice scenes where dogs are just standing still, but I am happy with several of the shots here.
Jumping into Lightroom again, we have the stills section, and as you can see, we have a lot more yellow here, which is pretty cool. Let's just take a look. A lot of these are burst shots, so this is a pretty easy shot. Really, I don't see how it couldn't lock. You got focus here, so third picture in. You got focus here. Obviously, his eye is not in focus, but I'm gonna give it to it because I know it was close on this one. And then he turns his head, locks eye, really nice, and one more to finish the burst. So that was a pretty successful burst. We have 1, 2 out of focus, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in focus. So not bad. Let's take a look. Here was a shot of him just kind of chilling in the backyard. I did crop this a smidge, but as you can see, the eye did hit. Hit again here, hit again here. If we just zoom in, just to double check. Yep, hit again here, and here, and here. So you definitely have a good shot if your dog is just kind of standing there, or even a cat. I don't have cats, I didn't test that. We have shots where Chief just stood, he was standing right here. I just started taking pictures, boom, we got eye focus. Really solid too, fully locked, really solid. Just another bunch of shots where I just started taking the pictures and then did not hit, but I kept going, and then all of a sudden, locked here, locked here, locked again, locked again, locked again. This is a different shot, but obviously locked focus, locked focus, locked focus. So if your dog is standing still, you really have a super solid shot at getting something in focus. I didn't spend a ton of time doing still shots. I really wanted to test out the motion, but overall, I'm definitely impressed a lot. It's not to say you're guaranteed if your dog's not moving. Obviously, I started taking shots here, kept going. Nope, 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 nope. Close, but nope. And finally, last shot, got it. Or second to last shot. So, it's not to say it's a guarantee, 100%. If your dog's standing still, the eye focus will nail it. But you have a pretty good shot. Like obviously this one, I'm not going to review it, but this one started bursting, it locked, and then it missed 3 at the end. So overall, I'd say your odds are really, really good if your dog is just standing in motion. And honestly, this is pretty much a game changer on the GFX system.
Another project that lined up really well with me borrowing this camera that was not planned was a watch product photography shoot. The watch is by a micro brand called Henry Archer. Their Nordzo model features a meteorite dial, and I wanted to do something pretty cool to show this off. I set up a light beam behind the watch and I hazed this to give it a spacey feel. The lens I used for this shoot was of course the GF1 20mm, my go-to for product photography. And this scene was obviously well lit, being in the studio where I could control the lights. So naturally this would not be too big of a feat to shoot with any GFX camera, let alone the brand new 100S Mark II. The performance was really as expected. I focus stacked the watch when it was suspended in the air, and then I swapped it out for a rock, which would more or less be a comet. Unfortunately, I couldn't put the watch on the actual rock because the rock was magnetic. It was really the only rock I could find in time to do the shoot that made sense. So I had to do some magic in post. Ultimately, editing these files pretty much felt exactly the same as if I shot this with the 100S, but let's take a quick look.
To just briefly talk about this watch photo shoot I did of a Henry Archer watch. As you can see, a couple different components here, but if we just take a look at this first shot, I obviously focus stacked this watch. This is just pretty much straight out of camera. And just to talk about highlight recovery and whatnot, we're zoomed in pretty heavy here, but just if we bring this down, no surprises, you can recover a decent amount of that. Also, if we just zoom out and check out the shadows, we have pretty much all data here. Nothing is not recoverable. Also, at the same time, this was just a, not gonna say perfectly, but a well exposed shot. So nothing really too magical is going on here. We have tons of resolution. These files look pretty much identical to what I would expect out of a 100S. And lastly, to just talk about this rock that I shot. Again, full video coming out on this shoot. It's gonna be pretty fun, so stay tuned for that. But as you can see, you got lots of detail here. This was a blue lit rock. So with blue light, it tends to be a bit interesting. But if we just adjust the levels, you can see we have all this information here. So the dynamic range, like I mentioned, pretty much on par with what I expect, and I'll show you the final image from the shoot right now.
So what's the verdict on this 100S Mark II? Well, let's discuss two scenarios. Let's say that you currently do not own any GFX cameras and you want to jump into the system. Well, look no more. This camera is a 100% buy. This camera is $1,000 cheaper than the MSRP of the GFX100S. And arguably speaking, this camera is way more well-rounded with the autofocus update, and it is a definite must-buy if you want to get into the system. Also, to just lump in some more people into this group, if you own any of the GFX 50 megapixel cameras and you want to upgrade, this is a definite upgrade. You will not regret it. 100 megapixels is a lot, but you get a lot more with it as well. And with the autofocus, again, no brainer. Now let's talk about the group that personally I am in, those who own the GFX 100S and are interested in upgrading. It's pretty hard for me to give an overall definitive answer here, but I will just say, in summary, I'm a bit disappointed. With the GFX 100S2, the body, the ergonomics and the feel and all that, and the image quality, it's pretty much exactly as you would expect coming from the 100S, the main difference being the grip on the body. And by grip, I mean the rubber coating. The grip is exactly the same, super comfortable. Autofocus is the only real change, so in order to consider an upgrade, you really must have a need for autofocus. In my music video shooting stills, I was really impressed with the autofocus of this camera. The conditions were really unfavorable. Many times it was a dark scene and of course hazed as well. I really did not expect the camera to pull through, but in looking at the images in post, I was really impressed. The watch product shoot was also really successful. For both of these tests though, I wasn't really too surprised, and I would have expected to get the exact same results with my 100S, or at least close to them. For pet eye autofocus, this is definitely a game changer. It's not perfect. For pets standing still or not moving too fast, definitely solid and will result in a high amount of shots in focus, if not most of them. But the elephant in the room, you cannot miss it, is the motion shots of pets. Walking slow, walking fast, sprinting, these are all a game of luck, to be honest, at least in my experience. The hit rate will definitely be pretty low. But that being said, maybe there are some settings that I did not fully explore in the only 2 weeks that I had this camera. Anyway, I did try some things like putting the performance mode on shutter, but I didn't really find that it did too much. However, despite all of this, I think I did take the absolute best picture of my dog Duncan that I have ever taken. So if you want to get killer shots of your animal in motion, in focus, you basically have no other choice but to get this camera. The hit rate may not be what you want, however, you still will get some killer shots and be able to edit awesome GFX files. So to fully answer the question for myself, am I going to upgrade to the GFX100s II? I think for now, I'm gonna hold off. Unless I start doing some event photography like weddings or something along those lines that I need autofocus, better autofocus for, I don't really have a need to upgrade, at least for the sole purpose of autofocus. And as we've just discovered, there really aren't any other features that would make it a worthy upgrade. We'll see what the future holds, but for now, I'm gonna just hold strong with the 100s. These videos take a ton of work to make, so if you've made it this far, please consider subscribing. If you're gonna purchase the GFX100s II or any other sort of lenses, I have affiliate links in the description below, or you could of course just buy me a cup of coffee. Caffeine is really what fuels these videos. All those things I just mentioned go a long way and allow me to continue to help making videos for you guys that I hope you're finding extremely helpful. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.